Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. So welcome all again to this wonderful Saturday evening Bhagavad Gita class. Tomorrow morning we have a very important program, so all of the other devotees are engaged. And then evening also there are some programs. But however, on this Saturday evening coming here and then having taking part in this class is really appreciated and thank you very much. So today we are continuing with Bhagavad Gita's 10th chapter, and then the sections where Krishna is talking about his vibhuti. Okay. Yeah. So before we get into this sloka, this 27th sloka specific section, so Krishna is very specifically mentioning about two animals. One is the uccahirava, the second is the airavata, and then the third one is he's talking about somebody among the men, he is the king. Okay? Three main things. So from a straightforward understanding, you can understand, okay, Krishna is talking about his vibhuti, these things. Okay? But before that, let's get into some basic understanding of, try to make an attempt in next 45 minutes before you go back for prasadam, and just try to understand what is that you are going to learn from the 10th chapter. Okay. So how is the 10th chapter structured? Right, from a very simple way. So before getting the chapter, how does 9th chapter end? What is 9th chapter? 9th chapter is the most confidential. So how does the 9th chapter end? What is the last sloka of 9th chapter? Manmana Bhavaman Bhakta. Very good. So Krishna concludes, it's kind of conclusion part of the story. Right? So he spoke very detailed about confidential knowledge, very detailed about devotion service, and concludes Manmana Bhavaman Bhakta Madhyajim. All that you have to do is always think about me, always remember about me, continue to worship me, and you will achieve whatever you want. So that's how he concludes. But in 10th chapter, how does he start? He himself starts. How does he start? Bhuya eva mahabhav. He can start, okay, I'm going to continue. So Arjuna is thinking, okay, Arjuna, Krishna, he's finished. Okay, this is about this. Okay. But again, suddenly again Krishna, no, I'm going to continue. So he starts this one, which is very important because the entire crux of Bhagavad Gita, the entire essence of Bhagavad Gita, the secret of Bhagavad Gita, everything is within this 10 chapters, 4 slokas, the Chatusloki sloka. So Krishna somehow wants to impart that knowledge. Krishna wants to Arjuna to understand. Krishna wants us to take that knowledge also. So that is why he wants to ensure that in continuation of the most confidential knowledge, the Bhakti Yoga, he wants to continue about the opulences, about Krishna. So he starts like, again I'm going to continue. So that's what he starts. And then he starts with this, and then he goes into the very important section of the essence of Bhagavad Gita, the most important section, which if you go into this will be a very separate topic. Right? So the third portion of this is how the structure of Bhagavad Gita is the most important Chatusloki Bhagavad Gita. The Chatusloki Bhagavad Gita, all that we need to understand is how we are getting attracted to Krishna, how we are getting associated with Krishna's associates, and how we are going to get absorbed with Krishna's pointers, and how Krishna is going to guide us. That's the 4 main slokas. First sloka is all about Krishna telling about himself and then making us understand that we should get absorbed to Krishna. The second point is how we associate with Krishna's devotee, Machitta Madgata Prana. How do we associate with Krishna's devotees and get the knowledge? And 2 other slokas, Tesham Satata Yuktananam, another sloka is all about how do we get that particular knowledge. So that's the small part of it. This is the third part of the 10th chapter. And 4th part of the chapter is all about, immediately after Chatusloki Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna makes the second surrender. What was the first surrender? In the 2nd chapter, Krishna was chastising Arjuna. Hey, you are a fool, you don't know, you are supposed to fight. Why you are not fighting? You are supposed to fight. And then Arjuna makes all kind of reasons and finally says, Karpanya dosho madhasva, Shreyasam, I don't know what is good for me. Shreyas, I don't know what is good for me. If you see Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna's surrender is in 3 categories. First category is, I'm totally no. I don't know anything. But one thing I know, whatever you are going to do for me, whatever you are going to say for me is good for me. That is the surrender. That is the mode of surrender. When we go and ask something to elders, that should be the mode. I don't know. Yes, that is the first point. But the second point is, whatever the elders are going to say, whatever the person, whatever the master, whatever the person who is going to listen for us, going to take Shiksha, we have to be 100% belief on that. So he's saying, because that person, whatever is going to say is good for me, even though I may not be able to accept it, but I will still listen from you. So that was the mood, and then he started having that. Then in this chapter, he just makes a full surrender. The third one is also there at the 18th chapter. He says, "What? I'm ready." So this is first one is without knowledge, but little bit of devotion and faith. This is complete devotion and getting the knowledge. So partially he's already ready. And then by the end of the 18th chapter, he gets complete faith, he get complete knowledge, faith and knowledge combined together gets the devotion. He becomes completely devoted and say, whatever you say, I will do. That is the highest level of surrender. Okay, three different categories you see Arjuna's transformation from a Sharanagari perspective. So here the middle portion where Arjuna is very clearly is falling completely and says Param Brahma, Parandhama and the wonderful prayers. So after this prayer, four main points is mentioned. What are those four main points? Krishna, whatever you have told, I'm going to accept. Whatever you're going to tell, I'm going to completely accept. What I'm totally accepting what you are saying. So that is the first significant part Arjuna is making. And that is a prayer that we need to see. And second important point is to elaborate, to understand more, to gain knowledge, the gyan, the understanding of Krishna's energy, understanding of Krishna's supremacy, understanding of Krishna's pervasiveness, understanding Krishna. Why? That is also mentioned in the next section. Why? If and only I know elaborately about Krishna, I can always remember Krishna. That is the essence of 10th chapter. That's all. Why should we know about 10th chapter? There's so many things that Krishna will say. Why? Either in any one of the way, we have to remember Krishna. That is what Arjuna is saying. Why? I have to always constantly remember you. Constantly think of you, first point. Thinking is different, remembrance is different. I have to always think of you. So he's very clear. The clear understanding he got. What is the clear understanding? I have to continuously think of you. What is the way? I don't know. That is the question posted by Arjuna. Okay. So, in one sense, if you see 10th chapter might go, okay, Vibhuti Yoga, so what? Okay, Krishna is talking about is Vibhuti Yoga. But actually speaking, when you stand in the position of Arjuna, you will understand the position of a devotee. What is that? Arjuna, as a devotee, is asking this question. What is that? How do I remember you? And that also what? Constantly thinking of you. That is the main point. And then the third is in what various forms. So this is going little specifically because in this material manifestation, in this particular way, there are so many manifestations, so many things are there. How do I remember you? Is there any specific way? Is there any specific category? Is there any specific form? That is where the Vibhuti portion comes. The last point is very important. He was very sure. So whatever Krishna is going to talk, he is never saturated. So already 9 chapters, right from 8th chapter, 4th chapter, always all the gyan, he started giving karma yoga, jnana yoga, bhakti, everything is giving. By 9th chapter, somebody will say, okay, all done, okay, thank you. No. Arjuna doesn't feel that enough. So that also where in the middle of the battlefield. All are ready to fight, but Krishna is talking, and then finally Arjuna feels, okay, let me, no, I still want to hear. I still want to hear. That is where 11th chapter also, he's still not satisfied. He said, I want to see you. I want to see your form. So that is where he said, I'm never satisfied in hearing about you. So in the previous chapter, Krishna has already told about himself, so he understood it. Which means here, he has got the understanding, he has got the knowledge, the faith is also growing very fast. And then I want to hear more and more because the last point is very important. I want the taste of nectar of your words. If you just contemplate on this particular line, we will understand why Arjuna wants Krishna to convey. One is all about getting the knowledge, getting devotion. But most important is what? Shinvata Swakata Krishna, Punya Shravana Kirtana. Which means all that we keep hearing is for what? The taste that we need to get. The taste of understanding Krishna, the taste of repeating Krishna's names, the taste of getting the gyan of knowledge about Krishna, the opulence of Krishna. This lays the foundation for the 10th chapter. 10th chapter's main important point. What are they? One is total acceptance, number one. Number two, more elaboration will always make us constantly think about Krishna and also know about Krishna. The third is the various manifestations. And the fourth is all these things why it will never satisfy. You will never get saturated. You will never get bored. You will never feel like, oh, enough. No. The more and more you hear, the more and more you will become happy. Tushyanticha, Ramanticha. And that is also what I want to taste the nectar from your words. I want to hear from you. So that is why we make an opportunity to listen to Bhagavad Gita, read Bhagavad Gita, understand, repeat it again and again. Is all because we want to taste that nectar. Today, as 18th chapter also Krishna says, initially it will be bitter. Initially it will look like bitter, but there is no other choice. You have to keep listening, repeating again and again. Then the poison will change into sweet. Okay? And that is all. Sorry. Then Krishna says, okay, I'm going to tell you. And he starts a big list. What is that big list? Everything. Whatever you imagine, whichever you think is the best, that is making it. The word vibhuti, in a way where we can understand, vibhuti means not ordinary, number one. Number two, it is not like everybody will have this quality. And number three, it is very, very specialized. Okay. So for example, he's talking about Narada Muni, he's talking about Kartikeya, he's talking about Banyan Tree. Last class, Devaki Prabhu spoke specifically on Banyan Tree, Kapiladev and Narada Rishi, right? So they are not ordinary, first point. Second, they have some special attributes, special qualities. And all are representation or representatives of Supreme Lord. Okay. So end of this 45 minutes or half an hour, what is that we have to think? How do I remember Krishna? So the 10th chapter gives this specific understanding. And finally, what Krishna does, I have told you so many things, but it's only spark of whatever I do. I told you about 15 to 20 slokas, everything all about this thing, but what he's saying, it is just spark of my splendor. Which means what? I thought so much, but then what somewhere is there, right? So which means it is very, very, very minuscule. Whatever he told about this 15, 20 slokas is very small. But the second part of that part is also very important. So last slokas, what he say? With a single fragment of myself, I pervade and support this entire universe. So whatever you think beyond this is also me. Beyond this, whatever you feel like, whatever you're seeing here and there, that is also me. So what does it mean? 10th chapter gives us an opportunity, gives us a way, gives us a lesson by which we will be able to remember Krishna constantly through all these kind of wherever, if you read through Bhagavatam, if you read through any stories, wherever, here and there, if you think of a mountain, next time you think of a mountain, immediately you should think about Krishna. You go to any zoo, you see an elephant, you should think about Krishna. You see a horse, you should think about Krishna. That is what Krishna wants. That is what Krishna wants. And that is what Arjuna gives us an opportunity here. That is why Arjuna asks this question, how do I understand you? And Krishna starts giving all these things. Okay? This is the main structure of the 10th chapter. Okay, coming to the next section of this. So when it starts, as I mentioned, Prabhupada mentioned this in the purport of the first section of the sloka. Bhuyaiva mahabaho shunume paramam vachaha. So he's making that very important point. Paramam vachaha. I'm going to tell you about what is that I'm going to tell you. Most important thing, which is very, very important to you. Hita kamya. Okay. In Bhagavatam also the word hita kamya is used in many Pakshyami. I'm going to tell you, because you are very priyamana, because you are very dear to me, I'm going to tell you about which is very good for you, which is very beneficial for you, and which will give you great joy. And Prabhupada writes in the purport, what is the very important? The more one hears about the Supreme Lord, the more one becomes fixed in devotion service. And how do we take it? We take it through the association of the devotees. Association of devotees and devotion service. And Paramam, actually, Parasar Prabhupada brings in the purport very clearly. Paramam here mentions, described by Parasar Muni. We all know this sloka, right? Aishwarya Samagasya, Viryasya Yasasya. This sloka we all know, right? All the 6 main opulences is defined as the Paramam, as defined by Parasar Muni. Okay. And the other slokas are all very foundation slokas which we can understand. And then he goes directly into the Chatushloki Bhagavad Gita. Okay. But these are the main important points. I will just go through very quickly. I'm not going to go into the Chatushloka. Okay, Chatushloki Bhagavad Gita already we have understood, right? But let's focus on the 2 or 3 main aspects of today's sections. Today's section, in the sloka, Prabhupada also mentions and Krishna also mentions, these are the main important items that come out of the churning of the Milky Ocean. So he's talking about very specifically focusing on these items. And in Bhagavatam 8th canto, 8th chapter, there is one specific section in the 8th canto's 8th chapter, very elaborately mentioning about what are all the things that came out of the churning of the ocean. So the story we all know, okay, all of us know the story. I'm not going to the story part of it. But in terms of how do we understand all these aspects also, we can just understand. So first thing, during the churning, we all know before this chapter, before the 8th chapter, we have the 7th chapter and 6th chapter in which the poison came and then Lord Shiva took the poison. And then after that happened, they still continued the churning. After the churning, first thing came Surabhi cow, and Surabhi cow was taken by all the rishis and munis who wanted to do yajna. Okay, and then the uccahirava. So why am I saying these things? It has got a reference to the sloka that we are seeing it today. Okay, so uccahirava, the horse came, and when the horse came, immediately Bali Maharaj wanted to take it. So this side it is headed by Lord Indra and all devatas. On the other side, who is there? Bali Maharaj and the daityas, on the demons. So Uccahirava came, and and in the sloka very nicely it is Ishwara Siksha. I'll come to that point. Because when things come out, both the parties are there. Who's going to take what? So there's going to be a debate, right, or a kind of a wild fight. And then immediately Indra thinks about the Supreme Lord. Lord had already given one instruction: don't hastily do anything. So this particular Leela has got so much of lessons we can learn. Don't take hasty decisions. Don't take anything, whatever you want, you get it. You just wait for it. Okay. So that is where Indra just passes for a minute, and then Bali Maharaj says, "I want airavata. I'm sorry, I want uccahirava," and then uccahirava goes to taken by Bali Maharaj, and then next came airavata. So obviously, what happened? This was taken by Bali Maharaj, so airavata came for Indra, and because Indra had airavata, Bhagavatam and other Puranas, Padma Puran, and then Vishnu Puran, so much of wonderful pastimes or wonderful leelas related with Indra and Airavata is there. Okay, and then after Airavata, one big Airavan, there is one big male elephant came, Airavan, and along with Airavan, there were other 7 male majestic elephants came, and then female elephants. There's one group of elephants that can go in all kind of directions came, and then we have Kaustubha Mani, the jewel taken, and then Padma Garbha Mani. Kaustubha Mani we all know. Kaustubha Mani is with whom now? Always with Krishna, right? And then Parijata trees also came, and then Apsaras came, and Rama, Lakshmi Devi came, and Varuni. Varuni went to the Daityas. Okay, Varuni was taken care, was like given to the Daityas. And then finally Dhanvantari came with the what? Okay, this is just a quick understanding section of how do we understand it. Okay. Because this has got a reference to sloka, I'm just giving you a quick pointer. And then in Bhagavatam 10th canto, 8th canto, 8th sloka, this is specifically mentioned. Okay. Tata uccahirava namaha ayo Chandra Panduraha, Chandra Panduraha, Tasmin Balis Paham Chakre, Nendra Ishwara Sikshiya. So how this Uccahirava is described is very clearly mentioned. There are other specific references in various other Puranas in different ways. Like one Purana will tell here the Uccahirava horse had 3 heads, and then this is talking about 7 heads. So many different varieties, but let's not get into that concept of understanding that. But ultimately, what is more important, we have to see. Ultimately, what is it? It was Chandra Paundraga. Chandra is as white as moon. Okay, Chandra, we all know. Chandra Paundraga, as white as moon. And then Tasmin Bhalis Pram. So what happened? Nendra Ishwara Siksha, as I told you, Lord gave an instruction to Indra, just wait. And then he was given to Bali Maharaj. Okay. And there is a small story about this uh, I'm sorry, this Uccahirava also. Okay. I'll tell you, just quickly tell you this story. Okay. This sage Kashyapa had many wives according to different manifestations, births. Okay. In that there were he had two specific one sisters, Kadru and Vinata. Okay. How many of you know this story? Few of them. Okay. Good. But in this story, there is a small connection to Uccahirava. That is why I'm saying that. Okay. So why this story? Because there is a small connection to Uccahirava. We are telling that. So Kadru and I'll make a very short part of the story. So Kadru and Vinata had wanted to get sons, and then they prayed to their husband, and then Kashyapa Muni gave a benediction. What is that benediction? Is whatever they want. So Kadru said, "I want 1,000 sons who are very strong, very powerful." So she made 1,000 eggs and then was about to be hatched. And then Vinata said, "I want two sons, but very powerful sons." So Vinata had two eggs, okay, two personalities that's supposed to come. And slowly they were having waiting for that eggs to hatch. And during that part of the time, slowly Kadru's sons. So Kadru's sons are nothing but all the serpents. You say Vasuki, you say Anantasesha, all of them came from Kadru. So slowly they all started coming out of the egg. Okay. And then Vinata was getting very, very tensed. And then Vinata was like, no, I'm waiting for two, only I just asked for 2%, and still they have not hatched or they have not come out. But whereas Kadrus, slowly all of them started coming. Okay. In between that, what happens? They were having one small debate. Like they were asking, they were having one kind of a debate or a kind of a bet in which what they were asking, what is the color of the tail of Uccahirava? So most of them thought it is always white, right? But what happened was Kadru told, no, Uccahirava's tail is black in color. Okay, that is what she had mentioned. So this was happening in one way. And then what happened was, during this particular period, all the Kadru's sons came out and all black color snakes came. So what did Kadru told was, all of you just go and hide or just go and wind on the tail of this Uccahirava. So all these snakes go and tie around the tail of Uccahirava, and then when everybody saw it, became black color. So in a way where Vinata was lost in the bed, and at the same moment she lost her patience and she just broke one of the egg. So when she broke one of the egg, Aruna, okay, Arun, okay, Aruna. Aruna is the charioteer of Suryadev. Okay, so he came out and he was like he was perplexed. In one of the Puranas says he gave a kind of curse to mother, or he chastised his mother and said, "You made me to come out very quickly." So he told, "You have to become slave of Kadru for 500 years. Next 500 years, you become a slave of Kadru. And then after 500 years, the other egg will hatch out, will come out, and then you will get a very nice personality who will relieve you or who will release you." That's what he says. And then he goes away. He becomes the charioteer of Suryadev. And then later, after 500 years, most important personality, Garudadev comes out. So Garudadev comes out, then he plays a trick during the churning of the ocean time. He carries the pot, and then he's trying to save his mother. Okay, this is a simple story, but in the story, what is connection is when they had this bet was through this Uccahirava. Okay. How do we understand whenever Krishna's splendor or Krishna's manifestation of these things conveyed is very important. Is symbolization or representation of how do we understand. Okay, horse represents two main aspects. One is perfection and purity, and second is speed and agility. So next time when you think about speed and agility, when you think about perfection, you should think about Krishna, not Uccahirava. Okay. So the speed, the agility, and the speed, which means, I mean, going little deeper also, it is not speed of running physically, speed of the thought, speed of the mind. Okay, and agility is also agility in terms of how do we make quick decisions, quick actions, everything. All these wonderful characteristics come from Krishna. So when you go through the slides, always remember Krishna. That's all. Okay. So this is kind of a symbolization, or when Krishna says, "I am uccahirava," don't think of horse. Think of Krishna. And what is the representation of that? Is all about agility, speed, perfection, purity. Okay. Of course, it has got other things also. Okay. Okay. Next, we'll go to airavata. Okay. So clear about Aish. Uh, yeah. Then we'll go to airavata. Okay. Airavatam also in Bhagavatam 8th canto, 8th chapter, 4th sloka. Tata airavato namaha varendramo vininkritaha dantaishchaturbhi smetadhe haran bhagavato mahim. Okay, so after the churning of the next level, then this king of elephants, Airavata, came. And then some of the Puranas talk about Airavata had 3 heads, Airavata had 5 heads, and some say Airavata came before this itself. It came from Brahma. There are so many different um, varieties or various ways of same story. But what we focus or take is the source of truth is Bhagavatam. Okay, so from Bhagavatam it is very clearly mentioned, and is a Danta is Chaturbi. It has got 4 tusks. Okay, so it was white in color. It had got 4 tusks, and then specifically Shvetedhe. Shvetedhe means we all know it is white in color. Haran Bhagavato. The word Bhagavato here refers to Lord Shiva. Okay, so Lord Shiva resides in Kailash mountain. Kailash, you think about as white as they say snow, right? So same way it is represented. So it is like Kailash Parvat with snow with pure white, same color. Shvetar was this Airavata. Okay, this is how Sukadeva Goswami gives the description of Airavata. Okay. And Airavata story, there are various different stories. I'll just touch upon 2 stories quickly. That is there in Bhagavatam. Okay. One is wonderful story. We all know this wonderful Leela of this Indra Leela, right? Where Krishna took the Govardhan mountain for 7 days, and after that, everything over, and then Indra surrenders. Indra realizes his mistake. He felt very ashamed. Bhagavatam writes very clearly. He felt very ashamed. He felt like I'm not fit enough to come in front of Krishna. So he brings mother Surabhi also, and then all the other devatas also come, and then his mother. Okay, they all come. Okay, that is what Bhagavatam very clearly mentions. Okay, Indra Surabhi Shakam Chanito Devadaha. The word very nicely in this sloka is airavata krodahi. The last part of this sloka, where when Indra comes along with mother cow Surabhi and then Airavata, he does the wonderful Abhishekam to Lord Krishna. The first part of the prayers is all about his prayers is all about he felt how shameful, how ignorant he was that he is not able to realize Krishna, and later he just surrenders because everybody's and his mother Aditi will say no, whatever mistake you have done is Krishna will, he is your master, he is your father, don't worry about it. So you go and just say sorry. So that is how Indra comes, and then he shamelessly, or he says like I did a big mistake, and then he gives a very wonderful prayer. And this is the last section of the prayer about to end, where once Krishna says okay, everything fine, okay, I'm going to forgive you, and then he does the Abhishekam. So Abhishekam is 2. One is Mother Surabhi giving the milk Abhishekam, and then Airavata takes all the wonderful river waters, the sacred river water, and then does an Abhishekam to Krishna. Okay. And then after that, Krishna, the word Abhyashinta, Dasaham Govinda iti chaptaha. So after that, what happens? Indra gives this name as Govinda to Krishna. Okay. So thus in the company of the demigods and great sages, Indra coronated Lord Krishna, the descendant of Dasarha. Dasarha, the word Dasarha here also means Dasarha was one of the the descendants of the Vrishni dynasty. Okay. And then gave him the name Govinda. Okay. So this is where you see how Airavata is performing a service to Krishna. So tomorrow when you remember about Airavata, what should you remember? How did it serve Krishna? Not about King Indra's elephant. Yes, it is King Indra's elephant. Okay, no doubt. It is Indra's elephant, Indra's carrier, Vahanam, all okay. But next time when you think about Airavata, first thing you have to remember is how did it serve Krishna? Okay. Okay. And if you go to Govardhan Parikrama, next time if you go to Parikrama, at the end after Puncharikrauda Bhavana, when you turn one corner, you will see all these three kund. Okay, first the Surabhi kund, then the Airavata kund and the Govind kund. Okay, so next time when you go take Parikrama to Govardhan Parikrama, when you come to that place, what you should remember? Remember Krishna. That's all. Okay, just don't just run away like okay. I'm come. Usually when all of them go to Punchari, they feel half the way done. Most of them will be okay. Then after that only the Jatipura and all the other places come. Okay, so that is how usually when every time when we go to that last the end of that then say okay half the way done. But then only we'll feel like okay. Okay, so next time when you go to this place, remember Krishna. Okay, so this is also another way of remembering Krishna. Okay. Yeah, this is another wonderful pastime in Bhagavatam. Again, talking about remembering about Krishna. Okay. So in this Bhagavatam 6th canto, 12th chapter, the previous chapter, all the Vritasura fighting with Indra is all happening, and then is almost, and then Vritasura becomes very angry, and then he no very Bhagavatam very elaborately mentions how his eyes start getting red burn, and then his hands and he becomes so angry, and then he opens his mouth so big. The previous slokas previous we saw Gajendra as what? Very majestic. Sorry, this is not Gajendra. Airavata is a very majestic elephant, very big elephant, and on top of it is this Indra. But that airavata and Indra is what? The small miniature thing in front of Vritasura. What happens is this Vritasura opens his mouth so big, that's why he swallows both of them together. So far we thought, okay, Airavata means big elephant and all. But here, she gone inside Vritasura's stomach. So Sukadeva Goswami mentioned Vajranam Saha Vahanam. So along with Indra, he swallowed this Airavata also. That is why we glorify Vritasura. Okay, why? Because in the last section of this chapter, very beautifully, Sukadeva Goswami mentions who got killed. Indra got killed actually. It is not Vritasura. That is how this chapter ends very nicely. From the story perspective, very simple. Indra along with Airavata goes inside the mouth of Vritasura, and then he uses the Vajrayudam to tear open his stomach, and he comes out. But still, Vritasura is not killed. Then he takes up the weapon, he slashes this Vritasura's head. Still, he is not killed. Go back to Bhagavatam, if you read, it takes 360 days for Vritasura to leave his body. Okay? So, we might think, Indra had the Vajrayudam, just one slash kill. No. Okay. So, Bhagavatam very elaborately mentions, and Sukadeva Goswami concludes that section very nicely. It's not Vritasura getting killed, it is more of Indra's pride, Indra's power, everything got killed. Okay, very nicely it is mentioned. And then again, in this section also, when you read this section, Vajranam Saha Vahanam, when you talk about Airavata, whom should you remember? Lord Krishna. Okay, so wherever you hear about certain aspects of anything, you try to relate to Krishna. Okay. Okay, so we have finished two aspects of this sloka, 27th sloka. One is uccahirava and airavata. Okay, yeah. So airavata is also in one same like uccahirava. Airavata represents supremacy and strength, right? And then also majesticity. Somebody coming on today also in India, if somebody is coming on an elephant, is considered as very majestic, right? If you go to Mysore, if you go to Kerala, somebody coming on an elephant means it's very highly qualified, highly positioned, high majestic, right? But all you have to remember is Krishna. Okay? His own supreme position as the source of all strength and power. So Airavata is associated with power and majesty. Okay? Okay. So this sloka's last section is about Naranamcha Naradipati. Okay. Naradipam. Okay. Naradipam, the word Naradipam, you can put it as Adipati. Adipati means the master or the owner or Adipati. Okay. Pati, you know. The word Pati means very specifically mentioned in Bhagavatam also. But this section we can categorize into three parts, again, three subcategories. One is Krishna himself demonstrated it. First point. Second is how is Krishna's expansions, or Lord Rama, Krishna's partial expansions like Prithu Maharaj, like Rishabhadev, how did they do? And then the third part is very important. All the other wonderful devotees as kings. Okay. So Krishna is mentioning whomsoever Nara, whomsoever person, human being that you think about in this material world, in that I am the king, I am the monarch. That's what Krishna is saying. Okay, if you go from the sloka perspective, Naranamcha Naradipam. I am the king of all the persons or human beings in that. Okay, so let's go back to that point very quickly. How do we understand that? So Naranamcha Naradipatam, from Krishna when he came down, when he was doing all his Leela after the Vrindavan Leela, Mathura Leela, then when he went to Dwaraka Leela, after going to Dwaraka Leela, if you go through Krishna book, if you go through Bhagavatam 10th canto, very specifically, a lot of elaborate mentions, very specifically point is when Krishna demonstrated his wonderful characteristics, demonstrated his wonderful qualities as a normal person, as a king, right? So in this, what do we understand? For example, when Krishna was coming back to Dwaraka, how did the Dwaraka Vasis invited or received Krishna? Very elaborately mentioned, right? And how does Krishna reciprocate to each and every one of them? Is also very elaborately mentioned. For elders, he prayed obeisances. For children, he played with them. For others, he did alinganam, he did embrace. Like that, very specific mention. Okay, so all these wonderful qualities demonstrate one aspect. When he came down as a personality, as a person here in this material world, also he demonstrated those wonderful qualities. He didn't say, "Oh, I will not do anything." No, he demonstrated that in Dwarka. That part we can understand. And then the other wonderful part, we all know how he reciprocated his wonderful friendship with Sudama, right? And then with his family, and then along when this Shamantaka jewel pastime. In that pastime also you can see how Krishna was able to demonstrate his wonderful character. So there are various specific sections. When Narada wanted to see what is Krishna doing in Dwaraka, when he came, he saw so many things Krishna was doing parallelly in all the different palaces. Right. So in one way we can understand Krishna was demonstrating those wonderful qualities as a person there, as a king there he was doing. Okay, this is the first part of understanding. Naranamcha Naradipa. First point. Krishna himself. This is the first one. Okay. Then the second part of it is what? Second part of it is what? Krishna as his person. So when he said Lord Ram, okay, we don't have to go into details at all. The moment you think of Lord Ram, what is the thing you will come to know, understand? When somebody says Lord Ram, what is the first thing you will come to know? His wonderful qualities. First thing is wonderful qualities. Then all other things will come. Then second thing immediately will come to know is Ramarajyam. When he ruled the entire period of doing in Ayodhya, the entire period of so many thousand years, today, even today, people when they talk about Ramarajyam means the best Rajyam, the best thing. It happened many yugas before. But still, Ramarajyam means the best. So Lord Ram demonstrated that. So Naranamcha Naradipati. Among the men, I am the king. So it's not an ordinary statement. Why I'm saying it got explained. It's okay. Naranamcha Naradipam. So it's not an ordinary statement because Krishna, whatever he says, it is factual and truth. Okay. Then let's go into the other. Maybe you can zoom it out. Advaita Prabhu. We'll just take 5 to 7 minutes. How do we understand Bhagavatam's wonderful Kshatriya kings as devotees, and how did they demonstrated that wonderful qualities? We'll not go into each of them very detailedly, but at least at a high level, and Prabhupada also specifically talks about two personalities. One is Yudhishthira Maharaj, and then Lord Ram and others also, right? So Yudhishthira Maharaj, we all know, right? So in Mahabharata, even in Bhagavatam first canto also, Yudhishthira Maharaj demonstrated a very wonderful quality. What is that wonderful quality is, whatever he wants to do, he will seek advice from Krishna, except for only one time. And he was always remembering Krishna. And in the first canto, when Arjuna went to Dwaraka and he didn't come back for 6 months, Yudhishthira got very perplexed. He was like kind of disturbed. What happened? What happened? What happened? And then when Arjuna comes back, and then we start asking questions, a series of questions. And in the first question is all about how is Lord Krishna? Is he? What is he doing? How is it? And then he puts a lot of questions. And then the moment when Arjuna says Krishna has gone back, he didn't even think about second thing. He didn't even think about anybody else. He just said, okay, I'm leaving. Then he just left. And during Yudhishthira period, he's called the Samrat. Right? It is not about he's just ruling one part of India alone. He was ruling the entire planet. Right? So that is why we can think about Yudhishthira Maharaj. Prahlad Maharaj, nothing to be discussed. He's the topmost. He's the best. Still, he was when he was king, he was from this one. That we can. And then we have this is Ambarish Maharaj. Third one is Ambarish Maharaj. Some few personalities as kings who demonstrated wonderful godly qualities and as representative of Krishna. The bottom line is what? Kings who representative of Lord Krishna, who possessed wonderful qualities, who demonstrated those qualities. That is the most important thing. Okay. So Ambarish Maharaj, we all know. Right? So he also demonstrated very specific qualities. And fourth is Krishna himself says in Bhagavad Gita, King Janaka. Janakadev in Ramayana and Janaka everywhere. Whenever somebody says who's the best king to take as a kind of a role model, it is King Janaka. Janakadev also, Janaka Maharaj demonstrated very wonderful qualities. And there is one small pastime called Ranti Dev. Okay, in Bhagavatam, there is a nice pastime called Ranti Dev. He is also a very nice king. He also showed very wonderful quality where he was doing fasting for many years, and then at the last, let's say he is taking Ekadasi fast, like how Ambarish Maharaj was fasting for many days, and at the end of the particular 1 year, when Durva Samuni came, how he was maintaining his calm and composure. That is what we can understand from Ambarish. And also from Ambarish, what we can understand is the Ambarish Maharaj means what you understand? Navavida Bhakti. The moment when somebody says Ambarish Maharaj, what should you remember? Navavida Bhakti. That's all. Okay. Same applies to Rantidev also. Rantidev, he was about to break his fast when a person with 4 dogs he comes and he says, whatever you're trying to eat or whatever you're trying to drink, can you give it to me? Same kind of a story. Here, Rantidev, he immediately gives whatever food he had. Okay, that is the story. But in the story, the importance is all about the qualities of the king. Okay. Then we all know about Bali Maharaj also. Right? Bali Maharaj means immediately what you remember? Atmanivedana. That's all. Atmanivedana. Right? And then there is another nice pastime in Bhagavad. There is one specific reference called King Sibi Maharaj. He also comes from the descendants. Sibi Maharaj pastime. How many of you know the Sibi story? Few of them. Okay. Sibi story, a very small, short one I'll do. So this Sibi also was a very noble king. Very judiciously he was ruling the kingdom. And then to test one day one big vulture or an eagle something came. Before that, one pigeon came and took shelter of this king Sibi. So the king told, what is that? What do you want to know? There's another big bird that is trying to come and hunt me. It is trying to come and eat me. Please save me. I am taking your shelter. Immediately King Sibi will say, whomsoever taking shelter with me, I will give complete protection. Right? So immediately then behind that, this vulture or a big bird comes and says, I want my food. What is that food you want? No, I want flesh. So immediately what does King Sibi does? He takes a knife, he starts cutting his thigh, his flesh from his thigh, and gives as the food to that bird, bigger bird. So it's again a way of demonstrating how a king protects his citizens, irrespective of whether it is human beings from a small land to a big personalities. The king has to protect his entities. Okay, that is always. Then we all know about Bharata Maharaj also. Then we all know about Dhruva Maharaj also. All these wonderful Raja or kings with divine qualities represent whom? Lord Krishna. Naranam cha Naradi. Okay. So some of these qualities, okay, I'm not going to go details of it, but most importantly, these are some of the nice qualities. First thing is they are representative of the Supreme Lord and they're taking care of the society. Most importantly, they give Krishna consciousness. They preach, they demonstrate, they show that leadership that yes, this is how, like as a leader they should do, and then the subjects have to follow. Okay, and they're always fair and justice, and they also have full knowledge and wisdom. Okay, these are all some of the wonderful qualities. Why are we saying all these qualities? To always remember Krishna. So tomorrow, when you talk about these wonderful qualities, from whom these qualities came? These qualities came from Krishna. Okay. Yeah. Another important quick point is this one. So Bhagavad first canto 9th chapter 27th sloka. Very nice sloka. Dhana dharman raja dharman moksha dharman vibhagasaha Sri dharman bhagavad dharman samasa vyasa yogataka. So when Krishna instructed Yudhishthira, when Bhishmadev was about to even he was on his deathbed, Krishna called Yudhishthira and Pandava said, "You go and take lessons from Bhishmadev." So when Bhishmadev starts giving the lessons, he's talking very specifically about Dhana Dharma, Raja Dharma. Raja Dharma means how a king should be, how a king should act, how a king should demonstrate, how a king should do all these things. We mentioned some 36 wonderful qualities. And lastly, he talks about Bhagavat Dharma also. Very important. What is Bhagavat Dharma? Is devotion service. So when Bhishmadev gives these dharma, these particular instructions, the first instruction is about Dhana Dharma and Raja Dharma. Raja Dharma is about how do you act as a perfect king. Finally, he ends up with Bhagavat Dharma, which is very more important. How do you do devotional service? That is also given by Bhishmadev to Yudhishthira Maharaj. Okay. There are a lot of instructions, but we can just quickly run through and then understand some nice instructions also. How to be an ideal king. All these qualities come from whom? Krishna. Okay. Yeah. I'll not go into these specific details. Experience, remain impartial, do not excessively engage, eat well. So all these wonderful things Bhishmadev gives to Yudhishthira. Okay. Okay. Let's get to the last part of the sections. If one knows factually how God is great, then naturally he becomes a surrendered soul. So what is the final conclusion that we are trying to see from the 10th chapter? How do we always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna? So Arjuna asked this question, how do I remember you? How do I constantly remember you? What are the ways in which I will remember you? And then Krishna starts answering. Okay, that is how we saw. Right? So we can actually understand Krishna, who is eternal, full of bliss and knowledge, simply by studying his words in Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam. So second sloka of 10th chapter, he clearly mentioned, Prabhupada mentions very important point. All that we have to do is what? Keep remembering about him. How do we remember? Is to always hear about him. Always speak about him. That's all. Okay. And then of all the sacrifice, this will come little later also. Okay. So in conclusion, what is it? All we need is happiness. Right? As Prabhupada mentions, when we come and sit here for 1 hour every week before having prasadam, before taking part in the arti, What is that is? Yes, I'm happy. I'm able to take some lesson out of this Bhagavad Gita. I'm trying to apply these sections of what Krishna told. How does Arjuna ask these questions? How does Krishna answer? What is that I'm trying to understand from Bhagavad Gita? Ultimately lead to peace and happiness. Ultimately lead to whatever that I want to achieve. So what is the answer that Prabhupada is giving? Very important. We are trying to give people that happiness which will never be exhausted. So which that will never be exhausted means what? We have to always remember Krishna. Always think about Krishna. Always chant about Krishna. Okay. So what is that? An opportunity that always representation. So in the next sections also, in the coming weeks also, Krishna is going to talk about so much of other manifestations. He will talk about other aspects. He will talk about shark. He will talk about lion. He will talk about other manifestations. So moment when they talk about it, what is that you have to remember? Always remember Krishna. Okay. It is only through that way we will get that condensed bliss. We will get that bliss of happiness. Okay. Quickly wrapping up, what did we saw in this particular today's section is all about two main aspects. The sloka starts with today's sloka is all about 10th chapter, 27th sloka. Uccahirava Ashwanam Vidimam Umartodbaham Airavatam Gajendram Naranam Chanadipam, which means he's talking about two animals. One is Uccahirava and Airavatam, and then he's talking about King Naranamcha Naradipam. This is what the sloka is about. And then we understood how the 10th chapter is structured. 10th chapter is structured in conclusion from Manmana Bhagavat to Bhuyayevo. He wants to continue to tell about what is his opulences, his vibhuti, and then the essence of Bhagavad Gita, followed by Arjuna's wonderful prayers. And in the prayer, he specifically asks this point: how do I constantly think of you? How shall I know you? Which means what? It is not fully understood. He is not fully yet to understand fully about Krishna. That is why this continues after 10th chapter. The 11th chapter also continues in what? In a way where Arjuna asks this question: can I see you? Can I see your wonderful form? And then his Vibhuti Yogam of showing his wonderful form also comes in. Okay. And specifically he asks this question about in what various forms are you to be remembered? Okay, very specifically, because he is never satisfied. And then Krishna talks about his wonderful, all his opulences in various sections, and then he concludes with this section of just a spark of my splendor. This is how the structure is. 10th chapter is structured, we saw. And then we went into specifically on this specific items that came out of the churning of the Milky Ocean, 8th canto, 8th chapter. And then in that we saw uccahirava. And then where is the reference of uccahirava from Bhagavatam also we saw. And then and the story, small quick story about this uccahirava reference also we saw. And then how does it symbolize, how does it represent from a Krishna perspective? We also, uccahirava representation is speed, agility, perfection and purity. And then we went to airavata. In airavata we saw 2-3 pastimes. One is this Indra's pastime, getting humility, and then this Vritasura pastime also we saw. And then also how do we understand, symbolize with this airavata from a Krishna's representation perspective. Okay. Then the third one is all about Naradhanamcha Naradipam. This is what we saw in 3 different aspects. One, Krishna himself demonstrated Krishna's expansions as Prithu Maharaj and Rishabhadev also, and Lord Rama also. And then the wonderful other devotees of Krishna as kings, how did they demonstrate those wonderful qualities. Okay. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ananda Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Any specific realizations or clarifications also you can.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for that wonderful class. Prabhuji, I have one practical question. In a place like in this Singapore, here you don't have elephant or horse or banyan tree. What symbols to use to remember Krishna?
I remember one of the old one of the Maharajas, I think, Atmanirdan Maharaj, I think, very long ago. Very long ago, long time ago, when Atmanivedana Maharaj one time when he came, he went around. Singapore has got what? No, no, leave it this. Immediately Singapore means immediately first thing all tall buildings, right? All artificial buildings. Everything is artificial, or 100% artificial, you can say. So Maharaj told this. Okay, whatever you see that is artificial or very tall buildings, it's only building only, all construction only. Today we have this cloud forest. What is the other one in? Now only we have this one in Changi airport also. What Maharaj told, I'm just telling the same thing. Whatever brains that behind these wonderful buildings, whatever material manifestations, which is like kind of very design artistic, you start thinking about how does it happen. It is through Krishna's brain, Krishna's way, Krishna's understanding of how these people were able to bring nothing or big things out of nothing. So Singapore has got nothing. How did they make these things? Is through their own hard work and brain. How does that hard work and brain came? It came through Krishna. So tomorrow you go to any big tower. When you see the tower, you will think about the hard work behind it. Definitely, they have done hard work. Last in 80s and 90s, Singapore did a very wonderful job of all the citizens did so much of hard work, and you see those wonderful things. The prosperity is behind. It's all because of their hard work and intelligence and leadership also. But those leadership, this hard work, all those things came through Krishna's mercy, Krishna's blessings. That way we can remember. Okay.
Thank you, Guru.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you, Prabhuji, for giving that nice structure and also highlighting that we have to keep remembering Krishna in whatever way. Prabhuji, question is practically when we are asleep, in the night. So maybe how can we any practical tips we can do before or after waking up so that we can during that state of sleep also we can remember Krishna.
During the state of sleep. Okay. Scientifically, dreams has got two aspects to dreams. Okay. Two aspect of dreams is one aspect of dream is whatever that has happened in the past or whatever has happened on that particular day will definitely have a particular section in your dream. The other aspect of dream is something which you want to really have, really desire, and that has not yet happened. One aspect of dream is that has happened that day. Some way or the other, it will come in your dream. That is the fact. And many of you, if you are able to remember your dream, okay, I'm repeating the word. If you are able to remember your dream, which means that would have happened in that day or the previous days, which has got a lot of, it has gone deep into your heart and mind and is stored in your hard disk. That will definitely come out in whatever way. The second aspect of the dream is that which has not occurred, that you want it to occur. So when you are in sleep, these two type of dreams will come. The third aspect of the dream is which you cannot imagine, something which is like totally something which you will never imagine, but that will come in your dream. That is what you will say, totally unimaginable is dream. So these are the ways in dreams come. So for each of them, go sit down and then go little deep dive into it. So which means what? Today, if I want to dream about Krishna, what should I do? Think about Krishna. Act for Krishna. Do something for Krishna. Definitely in your dream, Krishna will come. The second aspect is you want to take sannyas. I'm just Mataji is here, no right? Okay. I'm just joking. If you want to do some wonderful seva, you're not able to get the opportunity. What do you have to do? Start thinking about it. At least in a dream, it will get fulfilled. One day, it will Krishna will fulfill also. So that portion of thinking will get fulfilled in your dream, and then it will. Okay, for you. So it is all about that day's past events, that day's or previous day's events, and what do you want to desire. That's all.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Stop here, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai.
Yes, Srinarayan Prabhuji. Yeah. I think after today's class, if you meditate upon it, you will really remember Krishna tonight and you will dream about Krishna. Thank you. Thank you. You all can rise and